Have you ever felt like you're putting in all the effort chasing someone who barely notices? What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make isn't to try harder, but to stop trying altogether? Sounds wild, right? But that's where things get interesting, because when you step back, something shifts. They start to notice, they start to wonder, and they start to miss you. And it's not because you're playing games, but because you've tapped into a truth most people are too afraid to admit. Walking away doesn't mean you've lost, it means you've gained control. In today's video, we're diving into the exact moment they realize your value when you step back. This isn't about playing games or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power, giving them the space to miss you and making them realize what they had all along. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand why silence speaks louder than many words. Number 1, the power of silence. We live in a world where being constantly connected is not only expected but demanded. Social media, texting, FaceTime, it's all about instant communication. But let me ask you this. When was the last time being always available actually made someone appreciate you more? The truth is, it doesn't. In fact, the more available you are, the more likely you are to be taken for granted. Silence speaks louder than words. When you stop constantly checking in, texting first, and always being there, you create a space for something powerful to happen. That silence doesn't just go unnoticed. It becomes a void, and that void is where people begin to wonder. When you stop talking, they start thinking. Imagine you're messaging someone every day, always initiating the conversation, always the first to check in. At first it feels good, you're getting responses, and it seems like the relationship is flowing. But over time something happens. The replies get shorter, the enthusiasm fades. Maybe you get a few likes on your messages, but nothing real is coming back. It's subtle, but you start to feel it. You're being taken for granted. So, what do? You pull back. You stop initiating. No more daily check-ins. No more just seeing how they're doing. Silence. You might think this will make them forget about you, right? Wrong. This is where the magic happens. Your silence creates a gap that over time becomes impossible for them to ignore. They'll start to notice that their phone isn't lighting up with your name anymore. They'll start to wonder why. The truth is, we all crave attention, but it's the absence of attention that actually forces people to reflect on what they've lost. When you go quiet, people start to appreciate what they had. That silence becomes louder than anything you could ever say. They begin to realize that your presence in their life was not something to be taken lightly. It's human nature. We don't realize how much we value something until it's gone. Try this out next time you're in a situation where you feel like you're the only one putting in effort. Stop texting first for a few days. Don't send that good morning message. Don't like their Instagram post. Watch what happens. They'll start wondering, and when they do, they'll come to you. This isn't about manipulating anyone. It's about teaching people to appreciate your value. Remember, silence isn't passive. It's an active choice. And sometimes, it's the loudest message you can send. Number 2. Why absence truly does make the heart grow fonder. You've heard it before. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. But have you ever stopped to think about why this is so true, especially in today's relationships? It's because absence disrupts our routine. When someone is constantly around, we get used to them. We stop noticing the little things they do. Their presence becomes part of the background noise, and we take it for granted. But when they're gone, even for a short time, we're reminded of how much we relied on them, how much we valued them, even if we didn't show it. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with attention, likes, comments, and messages. Everyone wants to be seen, but that's exactly why your absence stands out. Think of it like this. When you're always there, you're like wallpaper. Nice, but easy to ignore. But when you suddenly disappear, people start to notice the blank wall. This is the psychology behind absence. When you pull back, it forces the other person to do something they weren't doing before. Reflect. They start thinking about you more, not because you're in front of them, but because you're not. And that gap, that absence, makes them realize just how much you brought to the table. Imagine you're dating someone or in a close friendship, and you've been the one doing all the reaching out. You plan the dates, make the calls, send the memes. But one day, you decide to stop. You don't reach out. You don't plan the next hangout. And suddenly, silence. Days go by. At first, nothing happens. You might even feel anxious, wondering if they've forgotten about you. But then, out of nowhere, your phone lights up with a message from them. "Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay?" That's the absence kicking in. They've realized that without you, something is missing. Stop filling in all the gaps. Allow there to be silence. Allow there to be space. Don't rush to fill it with a text or a call. Let them miss you. Let them wonder. This doesn't just apply to romantic relationships either. It's true for friendships, family, and even professional relationships. When you're constantly available, people stop appreciating your presence. But when you give them the gift of your absence, they're forced to reflect on what they've lost. Number 3, the unexpected strength of letting go. We've all been there, holding on to someone who isn't putting in the same effort, clinging to a relationship because we're afraid of what will happen if we let go. It's terrifying, right? The idea of walking away feels like giving up, but here's the hard truth. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate act of strength. Why? Because letting go shows that you value yourself enough to walk away from something that no longer serves you. It's not about giving up on the person, but about giving up on the dynamic that's been draining you. And when you do that, you don't lose them. You gain yourself. You reclaim your energy, your time, and your emotional freedom. Society tells us that we should fight for relationships, that we should always try harder. But let's be real for a second. If you're the only one fighting, what's the point? You can't make someone love you. You can't make someone appreciate you. And here's the kicker. The more you try, the less likely they are to see your worth. Here's the brutal truth. The more you chase, the more they run. Why? Because they see that you're willing to give up your dignity just to be in their life, and that's not attractive. What is attractive? Someone who knows their worth. Someone who's willing to walk away when they're not being treated right. That's strength. That's power. If you find yourself in a situation where you're doing all the emotional labor, it's time to let go. Don't send that one last text explaining how you feel. Don't beg for their attention. Simply let go. Walk away. And here's the real kicker. They'll notice. They'll feel the loss. They'll start to wonder why you're no longer around. And that's when the power dynamic shifts. You've gone from being the chaser to being the prize. Number 4, when they miss you. Let's talk about what really happens when you step back. When you stop chasing, something interesting occurs. The entire dynamic of the relationship changes. You might think that if you stop reaching out, they'll forget about you, right? But the opposite is true. When you stop putting in all the effort, that's when they start missing you. That's when they start realizing just how much you were doing for them. Here's the thing. We're all creatures of habit. When someone is always there, we get used to it. It's like having your favorite TV show available to stream at any time. You don't rush to watch it because you know it's always there. But the moment it's taken away, you start to crave it. The same goes for relationships. When you're always available, they know they can have you whenever they want. But the second you stop, the second you pull back, they start feeling that absence. Why does this happen? It's simple psychology. People don't value what they can easily get. They value what they have to work for. When you stop putting in all the effort, you force them to step up. Suddenly, they're the ones wondering where you've gone, why you're not texting, why you're not around as much. They start missing the little things you used to do, and before you know it, they're the ones reaching out to you. But here's the key. Don't rush to fill the gap. The moment they reach out, let them sit with the silence a little longer. Let them miss you a little more. This isn't about playing games. It's about teaching them to value your presence. When you constantly give, they stop appreciating. But when you stop, they start to realize just how much they needed you. Next time you feel like you're doing all the work, take a step back. Don't call. Don't text. Let them be the ones to reach out. And when they do, don't immediately respond. Give it time. The longer they wait, the more they'll appreciate you. The power dynamic shifts. When you stop being the one chasing, suddenly, you're the one being pursued. Number 5, why they suddenly start reaching out. So why do people suddenly start reaching out when you pull away? What changes? It all comes down to human nature. We crave what we can't have. When someone is always there, we take them for granted. But the second they're gone, we start to realize how much they meant to us. Think about it like this. Imagine you've been in a relationship where you've always been the one making the plans, sending the texts, and keeping the connection alive. It feels one-sided, but you keep going because you care about them. Then one day, you stop. No more texts, no more calls, no more plans. What happens next? At first, they might not even notice. They're used to you being the one doing the work. But after a while, the silence starts to get to them. They start to wonder, why haven't they reached out? Did something happen? Are they seeing someone else? That curiosity turns into action. They reach out to you, asking if everything's okay, trying to reconnect. But here's the kicker. They're not reaching out because they care more all of a sudden. They're reaching out because they're afraid of losing what they took for granted. When they reach out, don't jump back in. Let them work for it. Let them earn your attention. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are valuable. The longer you make them wait, the more they'll appreciate it when you do engage. Number 6, the art of non-attachment. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood concepts in relationships, non-attachment. People often think non-attachment means you don't care, or worse, that you're cold and heartless. But that's far from the truth. Non-attachment is about learning to care without needing. It's about being in control of your emotions rather than being controlled by them. It's about finding peace within yourself so that your happiness isn't tied to how someone else treats you. Think about it. How many times have you felt anxious because someone didn't text you back? How many times have you stayed up at night wondering why they didn't call or why they've become distant? That anxiety comes from attachment. It comes from needing their attention to feel good about yourself. And here's the cold, hard truth. The more you need someone, the less attractive you become to them. People want what they can't have. The more you chase them, the more they pull away. But when you step back, when you stop needing their validation, you become irresistible. You become the one in control. This isn't a game. It's basic human psychology. People are drawn to those who are independent, those who aren't seeking approval from others. Start practicing non-attachment today. Here's how. When you feel that urge to check your phone every 5 minutes, stop. Remind yourself that their response doesn't define your worth. Take a deep breath and focus on something you enjoy, maybe a hobby, a workout, or a creative project. The more you redirect your energy toward yourself, the less you'll feel that pull of anxiety. The goal here is to break free from the need for their validation. Once you do, you'll find peace, and they'll notice the change in you. They'll start chasing you, because they'll see that you're not dependent on their attention for happiness. But let's take it deeper. What happens when you master non-attachment? You start living for yourself. You start making decisions based on your own happiness, not on what someone else thinks of you. This changes everything. Suddenly, you're no longer a participant in someone else's game. You're the one writing the rules. And that's when real power comes into play. You'll see it when you start noticing how they come back to you. But this time, they're coming back because you've become the mystery they want to unravel. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. learning to detach emotionally when every fiber of your being wants to chase. But it's also the most rewarding. Non-attachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring for yourself enough to know that you don't need to cling to someone to feel whole. It's about becoming someone who is so grounded in their own value that other people's actions don't shake them. And when you reach that point, you'll notice something incredible. People are drawn to you in ways you never imagined. Number 7, how to rebuild your self-worth through absence. Let's be real, when you've been chasing someone, constantly putting in effort and not getting the same in return, it's a massive blow to your self-worth. You start questioning yourself. What's wrong with me? Why don't they appreciate me? Am I not enough? It's a vicious cycle, and it eats away at your confidence. But here's where the magic of absence comes in. When you step back, not only do they start to notice your absence, but you start to notice something too. How much better you feel when you're no longer giving away your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. Absence allows you to rebuild yourself. It's a process of refocusing on what makes you you. When you pull away, you give yourself the space to rediscover your own value, independent of how anyone else treats you. This is critical because your self-worth should never be tied to how someone else sees you. It should be rooted in how you see yourself. And the irony is, the less you need someone to validate your worth, the more they'll want to be around you. People can sense desperation, and nothing kills attraction faster than someone who's desperate for validation. The moment you stop seeking their approval, you reclaim your power. But how do you rebuild your self-worth in the process? It's simple. You start investing in yourself. Use your absence to work on you. This is your time to glow up. Hit the gym, pursue that passion project you've been putting off, learn a new skill. Whatever it is, make sure it's something that fuels your growth. The more you invest in yourself, the more your self-worth will grow, and the less you'll feel the need for external validation. Think about it. When they see you thrive without them, it hits hard. They realize that you're not sitting around waiting for their attention. You've moved on, you've leveled up, and that's when the tables turn. Now they're the ones wondering if they've missed out on someone incredible, and the truth is, they probably have. By focusing on yourself, you're not only becoming more confident and self-assured, but you're also becoming more attractive in their eyes. But here's where it gets even deeper. This isn't just about making them miss you. It's about you realizing that you don't need them to feel good about yourself. When you rebuild your self-worth through absence, you become unstoppable. You start attracting better people, better opportunities, and a better life. So the next time you're tempted to chase someone who's not giving you what you deserve, remember this. The real glow-up happens when you stop chasing and start growing. Number 8, the magnetism of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is a rare and powerful trait in today's world. Most people are constantly looking for external validation, whether it's through likes on social media, compliments from others, or attention from a romantic partner. But when you're self-sufficient, you don't need any of that. You're not looking for someone else to make you feel whole. You've already done the work to make yourself whole, and that's where the magnetism lies. Here's the thing. People are attracted to strength. They're drawn to those who don't need them, and self-sufficiency is the ultimate form of strength. It's saying, I don't need you to complete me because I'm already complete. When you operate from this place, you become magnetic. People want to be around you because they see that you're not needy, you're not clingy, and you're not seeking their approval. People don't want to feel like they're responsible for your happiness. It's a burden. But when you show them that you're happy on your own, that you don't need them to validate your worth, they're drawn to you like a magnet. Self-sufficiency is the key to flipping the script in any relationship. Develop self-sufficiency by building a life that you love, independent of any relationship. This is about you. What makes you happy? What drives you? What are your passions? When you start focusing on your own life, your energy shifts. You're no longer looking to someone else for fulfillment, and that's when they start looking to you. Self-sufficiency isn't just about being financially independent or having a stable career, although those are important too. It's about being emotionally independent. It's about knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you, with or without someone by your side. When you embody this mindset, you become unstoppable. People will start gravitating toward you, not because they feel needed, but because they want to be part of the incredible life you're building. And here's the kicker. Self-sufficiency breeds respect. When you're independent, people can't help but respect you. They see that you're not waiting around for anyone to give you permission to live your life. You're out there making things happen, and that's attractive as hell. They'll want to be part of your journey, not because you need them, but because they admire your strength. The more you focus on building a life that fulfills you, the more magnetic you become. Self-sufficiency is the ultimate power move, and it's something that will not only attract people to you, but also make sure you never settle for less than you deserve. Number 9, why they can't stop thinking about you. Here's the thing, when you're constantly available to someone, they don't have the space to think about you. You're always there, so they never get the chance to wonder what life would be like without you. But the moment you step back, the moment you go silent, everything changes. Suddenly you're not just part of their daily routine. You become a mystery. And nothing is more attractive than mystery. When you pull away, their mind starts racing. Why aren't they texting me? Did something happen? Are they seeing someone else? Are they over me? These thoughts flood their mind, and before they know it, you're all they can think about. This is human nature. We crave what we can't have, and when you make yourself less available, you create a sense of scarcity that drives them crazy. People always want what they can't have. When you pull back, when you stop being so accessible, they'll start obsessing over you. Why? Because they're no longer sure if they have you, and when people feel like they're losing something, they start to value it more. That's the game. If you want to get someone's attention, stop giving them yours. It sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it works. The less you reach out, the more they'll start thinking about you. They'll check your social media, they'll ask mutual friends about you, and they'll wonder what you're up to. Let them wonder. Let them miss you. That curiosity will turn into obsession, and before you know it, they'll be the ones chasing you. But don't rush to fill in the gaps. Let them sit with that uncertainty. Let them feel what it's like to not know what's going on in your life. This creates a sense of intrigue, and intrigue is incredibly powerful. When someone doesn't know what you're up to, their imagination takes over, and they start creating all sorts of scenarios in their head, and the more they think about you, the more they'll want to be around you. Here's where most people go wrong. They get impatient. They can't handle the silence, so they break it by reaching out first. Don't do that. Let them come to you. The longer you can hold out, the more powerful this strategy becomes. They'll start thinking about you more and more, and eventually they'll crack. They'll reach out, and when they do, you'll be in the driver's seat. Number 10, the moment they realize what they've lost. There's a moment in every relationship where someone realizes what they've lost. It doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen the moment you stop texting or the day you pull back. It happens later, after they've had time to sit with your absence. And trust me, when it hits them, it hits hard. They'll be going about their day, maybe scrolling through their phone or hanging out with friends, and suddenly, something will remind them of you. Maybe it's a song you used to listen to together. Maybe it's a place you used to go. Or maybe it's just the quiet realization that no one else has ever made them feel the way you did. That's when it happens. That gut-wrenching moment of regret. They'll start replaying everything in their mind. The times you were there for them. The things you did to make them feel special. The way you always showed up when they needed you. And they'll realize that they took it all for granted. They'll realize that they let someone incredible slip through their fingers, and it'll eat them alive. People don't realize what they have until it's gone. That's just the way it is. They won't appreciate you when you're constantly in their face, but the minute you're gone, the minute they have to face life without you, they'll start to understand what they lost. And by then, it might be too late. When they come back, and trust me, they will, don't rush to take them back. Let them feel that regret. Let them sit with it. You've given them the space to realize what they've lost, and now it's up to them to prove they deserve a second chance. Don't make it easy for them. Make them work for it. If they really want you back, they'll show you. But don't settle for anything less than what you deserve. And here's the thing. You might not even want them back at that point. By the time they realize their mistake, you'll have grown, you'll have rebuilt your self-worth, and you might decide that you're better off without them. That's the beauty of this process. It's not just about making them miss you, it's about rediscovering yourself in the process. In the end, the choice is yours. But remember this. When someone realizes what they've lost, they'll do whatever it takes to get it back. And when that moment comes, you'll be the one in control. At the end of the day, stepping back isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about reclaiming your power and finding your self-worth. When you stop chasing, you force people to see your value. You give them the space to miss you, to reflect on what they've lost, and to realize that maybe, just maybe, they took you for granted. But most importantly, you show yourself that your value isn't tied to how someone else treats you. Your value comes from within. Don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to let go, because when you do, you're not losing. You're gaining the one thing that matters most, your own strength. They won't understand what they've lost until you stop giving it so freely, and that's when you win. If this message resonated with you, take action. Drop a comment below with, "My absence will speak for me," and join the conversation. Let's build a community of strong, self-sufficient people who know their worth. And if you want to take this journey even further, consider supporting the channel by joining our channel memberships. It helps us create more content and reach more people who need to hear this message. If you can't do that, a simple subscribe goes a long way too. Every bit of support helps, and together, we can grow this community. Thanks for watching.